Yo, what's up guys? Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. It's the 13th of the month. That can only mean one thing. Our topic of discussion will be Black Sabbath. That's right guys, as promised. Today we're going to do a deep dive into a great bootleg, and I think it's the best show from the 1980 Heaven and Hell tour as far as bootlegs go. Bringer of Evil is the full title, definitive edition. This is a 3 CD edition. There was a 2 CD edition that came out earlier, separate label and all. Here's all the goodies. The main show being Sydney, Australia, November 27th, 1980. Awesome show. We'll go down that whole list. We'll also take a look at the other bonus stuff on there. Pretty awesome. In fact, the one part of the content is really great. I'll talk about all that good stuff. We'll go into the Heaven and Hell, how the band came together, did the album. We'll talk about how just what happened during the tour. It wasn't without a little drama and member change and all that good stuff. If you guys can like or subscribe, Classic Rock and Metal. What the hell you think we're talking about here? We like to hang out, chat it up, drink it up. It's whiskey sour again, man. What can I say? It's what's in the house. All right, so Sabbath. It's 1979, summerish, whatever. Ronnie and Tony meet up at the Rainbow in LA just to see what's going on with each other, right? They're both considering solo albums. They're both open to collaborating. At some point, Tony plays a song he's working on, Children of the Sea. Ronnie hears it, loves it, starts writing lyrics for it the first time he hears it, and sort of the rest is history kind of thing. But they continue to work on demos for the album. Is this going to be a new band? That was thrown out at the time. Bill and Geezer both were back in the UK dealing with whatever things were going on in their lives. So at the time, when Ronnie and Tony first hooked up, it was just, let's see what happens. No specific direction really at the time. Eventually, Geezer came back into the fold, followed shortly thereafter by Bill Ward, and the decision was made, just carry on Sabbath. Luckily for all of us, I think we can safely say. Oh, and by the way, it's February 13th, right? So, of course, happy birthday to the album that started it all. Sorry, I already prepped to do a whole show about this, so, too late for me to jump on the first album bandwagon now. Next February 13th, all right? So, the actual recording of the album goes from October of 79 until January of 80. Got Dio, Iommi, Geezer, and Ward with Jeff Nichols on keyboards. He had been at the rehearsals and some of the writing probably. So basically the album gets done and released by April. Tours for Heaven and Hell. Europe and the UK from April to June 1980. No bootlegs from that one. You do get some live B-sides that would end up on the Heaven and Hell Deluxe Edition. More recently, but originally they were the B-sides, live B-sides to singles from Heaven and Hell. Of course, we've all got this, of course. Pretty cool stuff there. A little fake crowd noise kind of thing, but good performances on those live B-sides. So that's the Europe and UK, April to June. Then we have the US tour that runs from early July till all the way to November. From all those shows, we have one bootleg. Hartford, Connecticut. King Biscuit Flower Hour did a double deal. It was the Black and Blue tour at that point with Cult. And here's the Hartford show, complete. I can't testify as to whether the original broadcast of King Biscuit was the whole show or not. Nevertheless, this is the full show with Cozy Pal tape, Heaven and Hell tour from August of 80. Bonus material. Really good show. The sound, though, a little, it's kind of weird. It's a King Biscuit Flower Hour show. It's almost like you're standing back, like if you were on the lawn at, like, say, a 5,000, 10,000 seat amphitheater or, concert venue. It's kind of echoey, as if you were standing back. I can't explain it. It's just the sound quality is not great. And you do get 4 songs from Hartford as bonus tracks, once again on the deluxe edition of Heaven and Hell. And they sound the same there. The whole show on this disc doesn't sound a whole lot better. But, it is a whole show, so that's pretty killer. So that is in August, specifically August 10th, Hartford, Connecticut, Civic Arena. 6 shows had to be canceled at the end of August, I think from the 21st to the 26th, something like that, when Ward leaves for good, or at least until Born Again. Vinny Appice comes in time to play a show in Honolulu, Hawaii. I think that's August 31st. Pretty funny story in Tony Iommi's book, Iron Man, about how Vinny shows up with, basically a starter kit, your basic drum kit. And he basically tells him, dude, go out and buy more drums. I don't even care if you play them on stage, but your kit looks ridiculous. So that's Vinny's first show, is Honolulu Stadium in Hawaii. All right, so we get just the 1 CD from the American leg of the tour, Hartford, Connecticut. Great show, sound not the best, even though it's obviously professionally recorded. On to Japan. Second leg of the tour, November of 80. We got 6 shows. There was a 7th show that had to be cut short when Tony got sick. I've got the second of the 3 soundboards on this Demonization triple CD. It's a nice fat boy CD. You get the FM broadcast of the show, the soundboard of the show, and an audience tape, if that's your thing. I don't think I've ever even listened to the audience tape. I probably should. I might have once. Nakano Sun Plaza, November 18th, another soundboard. This one only 10 songs though. That seems to be all they played, because the FM broadcast and the audience all have the same 10 songs. Excuse me, I'm parched. You don't want me getting parched. You don't want to see me when I'm parched. Then on to Australia, November to December. 8 planned shows. Only 5 of them ended up being performed, 3 canceled. What happens here is that, actually this happened back in Japan. Geezer Butler broke a finger on his right hand, and it was fixed in Japan, but apparently not correctly. And at some point he just couldn't play anymore. He was at risk of doing further damage by continuing the tour, playing with the fingers basically still broken or not fixed, not repaired correctly. But this tour starts out in Australia with 4 shows in Sydney. The 4th show is the November 27th show on Bringer of Evil. You can also get this on Amazon Gray Market. I think it's just called Sydney 1980, but be aware that it's not the full show. They cut it down, they cut 2 or 3 songs off to fit it on a single CD. So Bringer of Evil, double CD of the show. We'll go over all that in a second. Little debate. Like, some sources say that the 4th show of the Australian tour was not Sydney, it was Newcastle. Most sources say they played 4 shows in Sydney, and November 27th being the last show. And in which, there was a portion of this show where Dio thanks some fans in the front row, I guess, for being at all 4 shows. So that kind of makes sense with being at Sydney 4 nights. So I tend to lean towards the fact that all the sources basically say Sydney had 4 shows. The 4th show was not in Newcastle, Australia, but in fact Sydney at the Capitol Theatre. And let's just go down the whole CD, song by song, like we always do. First of all, let me just tell you, there's this part of the reason that, first of all, the performance is fantastic, okay? I love Ward, okay, like anyone else, and probably more than most. But he was getting a little ragged and a little, I don't want to say sloppy, but he was just missing a couple spots by a hair. His timing was just slightly off, if you listen to Hartford, on some of the songs, all right? it's like he's there, but he's not there, So I have to admit, Apathy coming along kind of tightened shit up a little bit. And so there's that at this point. Also, excellent sound. I would give the sound quality on this, I would give Hartford about a 7, maybe 7.5, somewhere in there. Bringer of Evil, Sydney, Australia, November 27th show, a 9. Solid 9. Great sound quality. Maybe a bit loud as far as, compression maybe. But I don't know. It doesn't distort, even when I blast it. But it is kind of loud as a CD. Initially, in the beginning of the CD, the guitar is louder than everything else. But we'll get into that in a second. Let's just get in a set list. How's that? First of all, you get a little bit of Super Czar. About a minute and a half of that. War Pigs comes on. Sounds killer. Like I said, the guitar is kind of heavy in the beginning. Bass sounds okay. Drums a little in the back. Vocals a little in the back. Guitar is just a little overwhelming. By the end of the song, totally clears up. Levels are perfect for the rest of the show. Awesome. Dio's has a deep kind of angry voice, kind of reminiscent of how he was on Dehumanizer tour. So this is how he is in War Pigs here. Fierce. And it sounds killer. Explosions at the end, and they go right, a couple of explosions you can hear, and then I guess fireworks, pyrotechnics going off right into Neon Nights. Like I said, the levels are perfect here. It's a great version of the song. This is probably my favorite song on Heaven and Hell, right alongside the title track. You don't hear it on War Pigs, but you do hear it on Neon Nights. Some keyboard accompaniment here, Jeff Nichols on board on the tour. But it's almost like sort of just, accompanying Iommi. It's doubling him up in certain spots and then sort of enhancing him. And of course, during his solo, it's kind of filling a little of his sound out. Sounds cool. Like it. Next up, NIB. I'm not a big fan of Dio doing Ozzy stuff, but I have no problem with him doing NIB. It's almost like he's at least as good as Ozzy doing it. Sort of made for Dio. Slight keyboard, enhancement here and there on this one still too, but nothing, it sounds fine. Sounds good. Children of the Sea, great killer version. The keys almost sound kind of like another guitar. Kind of have like this synth metal guitar sound on the keyboard. So it's actually makes it heavier somehow. It's almost like there's two guitars playing. I really like it a lot on this version. What's kind of funny though is when Dio announces the song, beforehand, there's almost like no reaction. I don't know if it's an Australian thing or what, but like there's almost no reaction by the crowd when they announce stuff. A little bit. But, there's no roar like you would expect when, this album's out 7 months at this point, so it's not like I didn't know what he was talking about. Sweet Leaf is next. I'm not a huge fan of this song to begin with. This is another one, though, that fits Dio's voice really well, This band hadn't played this song in many tours, so kind of a cool resurrection. This one, though, the keyboard level's just really up there. As a curiosity factor, it's kind of cool, but it's not my preferred sound for the band overall. And it doesn't sound like a second guitar the way it did on, Children of the Sea. It definitely sounds more like a keyboard at this point. So interesting, like I said, for curiosity's sake, but not, ideal. Goes into a drum solo, about a 3-minute drum solo by Apathy. It's just fine, nothing special to me. Comes out of it into a Sweet Leaf reprise. And that's the end of Sweet Leaf. Now, here we go. This is where things ramp up nicely here. The song Black Sabbath. I don't really prefer or really even especially love Dio's versions of the song. But this is probably my favorite of all the ones he's ever done. It sounds really tight. The sound engineer or sound guy on this tour really has things nailed down at this point. I mean, he just places the super echo, super reverb on the vocal at certain spots, and him and Ronnie are just, they just got it down at this point. Really cool. You'd just have to hear it. Obviously, it's a great version musically. Love it. Heaven and Hell, this is probably my favorite version of this song live that I've ever heard. Okay, so another favorite of all time. So you got several songs on here that I think are my favorite live versions of these songs. Dio does some ad-libbing here. This is about a 17-minute version of this song. Dio and Tony noodles, and Dio does some just sort of random ad-lib vocals before things get, all the proper verses and choruses are there, but there are just, before things get started and then before the second verse gets started, there's just some ad-libbing in here that just, it's not especially amazing, but it's just cool. At some point, now this is something that they tried, I think, to do in every city, but didn't work in every city, and it worked here. So here's some at least audio proof of it. The band had some sort of cross up on stage that they could light on fire, and Dio has the crowd help burn the cross, which is cool. He calls out an Australian journalist that accused them of, killing babies and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Iron Man, Heavy as Hell. This is another one that actually fits Dio's voice well. I think you'd have to say that, man, when it comes to the Heaven and Hell tour. The songs they picked for Dio to sing up from the Ozzy era were definitely suited to Dio's voice pretty well and his style. There's a guitar solo next, of course, as always, for Tony on this tour before Die Young, which is great. The song Die Young is awesome. Good version of that. Probably my third favorite song on the Heaven and Hell album. Not the partial Dehumanizer tour bullshit where they play a minute and a half and then seg into something else. This is the full song. And then it ends on Paranoid. So awesome show. My favorite from the tour. The best sounding of the three, but also just the best performance in my opinion. The Tokyo show from, I think, October. That is, that's November 18th. That has really good sound, a little distorted though, and it's a shorter show. So this is definitely my favorite show. Great sound, full set, awesomeness. The bonus stuff you get on the remainder of disc 2 after Paranoid. So you just got the guitar solo, Die Young, and Paranoid on disc 2. Then we get the Cozy Pal tape. When he passed away, it didn't take long for his personal collection to hit the bootleg market. And in this case, we get Sabbath, and in parentheses or whatever, Ronnie, tape or whatever, 1980 tour, August. That's all the information we have. This is an even better sounding tape of Sabbath. However, it's only Superstar and then the first 5 songs of the show, but we don't even know what show. Venue unknown. But the sound on this is about a 9.5. It sounds like Geezer's playing right in front of you. The bass sounds so amazingly awesome. Guitars and drum, everything sounds great. Fantastic. So do not dismiss that Cozy Pal tape as great bonus material. I think that's the best sounding Dio era tape that's out there. It's unfortunately just the 5 songs, like I said. Disc 3, kind of nice. The King Biscuit from Hartford. They reran a Best of the Biscuit. So that's the first part of disc 3. The second part of disc 3 is Supergroups in Concert. It's fantastic. If you want to get it, you're going to have to go in the Japan market. I actually got it off eBay because I thought it was sold out. But at the time, I don't think I was dealing directly with Japanese websites. I was just doing it off some guy contact. He sold out of it. Luckily, I found it on eBay. $65 from the UK. This one is now back on Japanese sites. However, still $65. 3 silver press CDs with this bad boy if you can afford it. I know it's a lot, but this is the best show from the 1980 tour, in my opinion, soundboard wise. Like I said, there is a shorter version. If you only have $20 to spend, Amazon has Sydney 1980. They cut a few songs out, but at least you get the rest of the show. I can't testify to the sound quality on that bad boy. All right, guys, that'll do it for now. Black Sabbath Day. Gotta freaking love it. Can there be enough Sabbath? I think not. Cheers to the first album anniversary. Cheers to you for watching this great channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And bring a drink next time, by the way. You know? for Christ's sakes. All right, guys, catch you later.